Hey, there we are. We're live. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Yeah, we're here. I'm here with Lauren Cibene. That's not Keith. Believe it or not. We kicked Keith out for 1 week. Whether you're watching on YouTube or I guess one of our links is not working. So you're not watching on the choir page, but you might be watching on my page or in the Heresy After Hours. We're going to talk about The Last of Us, the game, the series, the themes, the book I'm writing, which that might be news to people. But there are, got to put that up there, spoilers ahead for The Last of Us 2, for The Last of Us 1, I guess, the game, and perhaps the show. We're not sure because The Last of Us 2 comes out, I think, today.
Yeah, happy premiere day.
Yeah. Well, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. So I will talk about this to anyone who will listen. To get to do it live is on like a live stream is super fun.
It is super fun. I'm glad that the universe smashed us together on a Heretic happy hour that recently came out that had nothing to do with The Last of Us. Like most of our shows, they don't. I wish they did. But most of our shows are about, obviously, the things that we've been talking about for years. And then it was like, oh, we're both very big nerds about The Last of Us and the game more so than the show. So Lauren, just like, what's who are you, and maybe what's your history with gaming and why The Last of Us?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I'm Lauren Cibene. Like you said, we were talking about deconstruction and spiritual stuff. I have a book coming out about my own kind of spiritual deconstruction process. So that's kind of how we got thrown together. And in doing some research before hopping on your show, I heard you mention in a previous episode that you were writing a book about this. And I just like audibly gasped because it's something that I am so passionate about as well as these stories and these games. I am normally what is known as a cozy gamer, I guess. I'm like a Stardew Valley person.
Oh, that's like my other favorite game of all time.
You can't beat it. Like it's so good. I feel a little bit like a
poser. We have to be related somewhere back somewhere.
Yeah, soul siblings, but yeah, like Stardew Valley, Spiritfarer, these more like cozy couch co-op games is kind of my vibe. I have tried Battlefield 5 and I am not good at it. The little things like that. That's kind of my entry into The Last of Us.
Which is the opposite of cozy, by the way.
So not cozy at all. But the reason why I stuck with it, and I play with my brother and he's a much better gamer. So when I'm frustrated, I can just give it to him and he's played through most of it. But the other reason why I stuck with it was because the story in these games is it's super, super rich.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like, I think back in the day, right? Like there was the notion that stories and gaming didn't go together, right? Like gaming was for you to get out of the story and disconnect and, hit your head on a coin thing or a mushroom and get bigger and get to the end and then go on your way. And then Naughty Dog and Druckmann, not like they're the first to write a story in gaming, but it seems like this game and Red Dead Redemption 2 are like the only games where like my wife would be walking by and have something to do, and then like sit down and watch the cutscenes. It's like, and then ask questions the way I do with like, well, who's in the show? Well, it's like, damn it, why didn't you just watch it from the start with me?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's what
100%.
she's like, Matt, I can't explain to you. We're in season 3. I'm not explaining this to you. Like, ah,
Uh-huh.
fair point, fair point. But
Yeah.
it makes you sit down and be like, wow, this is like as good as any of the best movies we watch or shows.
Absolutely. I mean, and I would venture to say even deeper than that. It's like a book. Like it's something that you
Sure.
spend tons and tons of time investing in these characters in this story.
True.
Like a
Yeah.
movie, yeah, I mean, even a show, it's like what you've got, an hour an episode or something like that. So like I can see that. But this book, like even just to watch the cutscenes from part 2 is like over 8 hours. And that's just the cutscenes. So like you invest so much in these characters and in this story. Like it's got to be good. It's got to be, for it to stick. And it did. They nailed on like something amazing.
Yeah, and then there's the extra dynamic of when you're on the controller, you might not be controlling their decisions. Like if you're playing Red Dead, you kind of are. If you're playing The Last of Us, you aren't. But you're not controlling like whether you go. There's not like a story arc that can go this way or that way. It's not a choose your own adventure. You
Right.
are playing the story. And so you are, like, for those that don't know, when you get into The Last of Us 2, you have to then control this person that you now hate.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, like, just that in itself. Like, you've played Last of Us 1, you've played as Joel and Ellie. You play as this like grizzled, hardened man, and then you play as a 14-year-old girl. And so you get these different dynamics, and then you start The Last of Us 2, and pretty quick, you're playing as someone that you will despise.
Most people will.
At first, well, no, I mean, like, I think the point would be that we're all gonna despise her at first,
Oh,
right?
100%. Mhm. It's brutal. I mean, you're watching this man, like this father figure, honestly, this guy that you just love so much. And yeah, and you have to play someone who ends him in a very brutal way, a hateful way.
Mhm. Yeah, and you're watching from the perspective not of Ellie, but you're watching Ellie while it happens, and
Mhm.
you're watching her watch it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, again, spoiler alerts, you gotta shut it off if you don't wanna hear about this, but, like, yeah, you're watching someone kill someone brutally that you've spent how I mean, Last of Us 1's shorter than Last of Us 2, but you still spend this harrowing adventure,
Mhm.
um, for hours and hours and hours, and probably multiple playthroughs actually,
Yeah.
of a
Mhm.
man who had his own daughter die in his arms, um, and then you're watching him be murdered by someone. It's and you're like, "This is like, how can this is not" it's, again, the prologue almost, right? How
Totally.
can this
Yeah.
be the game we're about to play? The main character is dead within the first little bit.
Yeah, and I remember when part 2 came out and it started to get leaked by the people that, ran through it quickly.
Right.
Like you don't get to play as Joel. Like Joel dies very, very early on in the game.
You
And
trot him
people
at the very start, that's it, with a guitar on his back, right?
yes,
Like,
yeah. And people were up in arms because this was our hero, he
yeah.
was the hero in part 1. So it was, yeah, risky call on the game makers for sure.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, yeah, okay, so you alluded to it already
Mhm.
that some of us hate Abby, but the point and it I wouldn't even say hate at this point. I think the point of the writing is to get us to hate her and then get us to empathize with her.
Right.
Um, can you say more about that?
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting, and I know that you've picked up on this as well because you've written about this. But this Abby's story and Ellie's story are kind of mirror images of each other. They start. Oops, sorry, I hit my mic. They start at different points, right?
Right.
Abby's story starts when she has the chance to get this revenge that she's wanted, and Ellie's story ends when she has a chance to get the revenge that she wanted. And in
Mhm.
between that, I feel like they were very intentionally um, giving us insight into Abby's story to show that she was very much like Joel, which is interesting
Mhm.
because she's killed the one character that she so much resembles. So yeah, and I think that you're right. The point of the story is to hate her,
Mhm.
to land in this place where you are fully ready to just never like her. You don't want to empathize with her, you don't want to understand her point of view. So that's why
Mhm.
when halfway through part 2, you now have to play only as her. It's so like abrasive and painful to like understand her pain and where she's coming from and what drove her in this like thirst for revenge.
Mhm. Yeah, which I think is brilliant, and I think just art in general that does that to get like I think there's a difference between like being abrasive for the sake of being abrasive, and that's off-putting. We don't like that.
Hmm.
But when it's when the abrasiveness is used to get us to a different, deeper level of something, of meaning, of seeing things differently, then I think it's A, brilliant, but B, really risky because some
Hmm.
people are inevitably going to hate it. Like
Yeah.
they're Druckmann and all them had to have known, like whether there was leaks or not. Like take the leaks and all the bullshit that went on with that during that time and COVID and all that. Take that aside. Some people were going to hate the game no matter what,
Hmm.
whether they had a perfect release or not. Now, I personally don't like this is just me. When you create like a trailer that makes it seem like you do play as like I don't like those intentional
Oh, sure.
just I don't like that personally as a marketing standpoint because
Hmm.
then I feel like you tricked me and you manipulated me.
Yeah.
But even if they didn't do that, again, some people were going to hate this story. But the point, like some of the writers have asked, well, then what is the better story?
Hmm.
Like, well,
Yeah.
we can't come up with one, right? Like there's
Right.
it's just painful to play as, but those truths are painful to play as.
Hmm.
Like when you see why Abby is like what happens in the hospital after Joel takes Ellie out at the end of part 1, we get to see that.
Yeah. The
The,
aftermath.
the aftermath of the
Hmm.
slaughter that we do in
Hmm.
in the we get to play that or have to play that depending on your perspective.
Yeah.
And then kill the doctor at the end.
Hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
Abby's dad.
Yeah. And I think also that it's so important because at the heart of this story, I feel like one of the main philosophical questions is what do we allow ourselves to become in the name of love? And
Uh-huh.
I think it's really poignant that the writers allowed Joel to have this one thing be his salvation and also his damnation, if that makes sense. Like Ellie saves him from himself and from what he was becoming, but also
Mhm.
in the end, like she, in some ways, his love for her, which saved him, the choices he makes out of that is also what damns him in the end because he makes this choice and he kills this doctor, and then the monster of Abby, is born.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a tough realization that it's like if you ask whether love is good or bad, it's like love is love. Love is and it can cause us to do what are objectively horrible things,
Hmm.
but also kind of like it's liberative, but it's also takes away like does Joel have a choice at the end and say, "Oh, Marlene, that's cool. All right. Well, such is life. I got the cargo here." Joel
Hmm.
doesn't have that choice anymore. Like
No.
and I'm not saying you have to be a dad, but I'm a dad. Like every dad's like, fuck that. I'll do everything that like I'll mortgage all of humanity, like
Right.
to
Right.
get to my daughter if that's the end. And so, but it's complicated. It's that, and that's the wrestling we have. We have a lot more questions at the end. Like I hope like writing this book is, and I'm not telling you like what the answers are. The point of is like Last of Us doesn't give us answers, really.
Mm-mm. No.
Gives us all
No.
these contexts and scenarios, and it's like a Buddhist koan. Like we have to then go away and figure out this paradox.
Yeah. And I feel like, is that why you decided this is going to be my next book? It was because you felt like there was enough there that you could just talk about this forever.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, well, Keith would talk about like this create space thing where these ideas just pop into the universe and we have to grab them. Otherwise, someone
Mhm.
else will. I don't know if I believe that. That sounds like woo woo, but whatever. I think sometimes the ideas just come to me like we all do. Like, where do the ideas come from? It's not like I'm special. We all have this ability. Like, these ideas come in, we create something out of it or not. And I think it's like you can tell when you're forcing a book or any sort of creation, like you're doing it because like I don't know, I got commissioned to do it, or
Right.
I got an
Mhm.
advance and I'm gonna write. Okay, I felt that about some of my later theology books. Like I
Mhm.
released Heretic 2 because Heretic 1 sold thousands and thousands of copies. And I was like, I'm not even into theology anymore, but this is important. It's a good book, but it's not like it was like it didn't it didn't need to be written necessarily. Whereas this book and some of my other books, like it felt like it just had to be written. I don't know.
Yeah. I love
Like,
that. When it just feels like it's just it's gonna come naturally. It's gonna come out. Like,
yeah,
mhm.
yeah.
That's
But
great.
these stories just, I don't know. Sometimes just the more it takes a long time. It's like dripping with all this metaphor
Mhm.
and it takes a while to process it, and then you realize how powerful it is. I mean, the first
Yeah.
time I played the game wasn't like in 2013. I honestly didn't even play it because it was like, oh, I'm not into the horror genre, and that that's just where I left it for so many years. And then I was like, well, and then I read about it or saw some clips or something. And I was like, well, this is like the greatest story of all time. And I'm like, okay, relax.
Yeah.
But then I played it. I was like, holy shit. And not only is the game really fun, it's like, God dang, like the graph. I mean, you actually feel. I love that the documentary is called Grounded because when you
Mhm.
play, you actually feel like there's weight to the characters. Like it's a fun as hell game to play.
Yeah.
But the story, I was just like, Christ,
Mhm.
I don't I hate Neil Druckmann because of how good of a storyteller he is. Like I can't
It's
write that
annoying.
story, and it's annoying. Like damn,
Yeah.
like
It's annoying. And
I could just yeah.
it makes me it's like one of these stories where you have a hangover afterwards where you're like, how do I and I remember when I finished part 2, when we first finished it, I looked everywhere for books. Like, how do I was like itching. I was like tweaking for
Mm,
like another hit because the story was so rich and the environment was so compelling, and just like the juxtaposition of this like infection that's taking over. And maybe it was because
mhm.
we're also coming out of, or we were still in a pandemic
Yeah.
ourselves. But yeah, super annoying that that the story is as good as it is. Ugh.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Tolkien. Like,
Hmm.
damn. All I could do is sit here and analyze it. I am not about to create that world. Like I just, you know, but
Yeah.
God bless those who can. Going back to I want to get your thoughts on I haven't heard a lot of analysis on this, but what do you think about because the framing of like the Fireflies mission and one thing I don't like about I want to hear your thoughts on it, but I don't like about the framing of it is that like the assumption in this dialogue is like that if they operated on Ellie, they would have a vaccine.
Hmm.
Like that's a weird assumption because they haven't tested that out. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a medical professional. My wife is not here, I don't think. But do you have vaccines for fungal infections? I thought vaccines were for viral. I don't know
Oh,
if
that's a good
I
question.
don't even know if vaccine is the right word. Do
Yeah.
we have vaccines for fungal infections? And see, like, who's to say that the Fireflies wouldn't take that and make a shit ton of money off it and become
Mhm.
they not become
Corrupted.
Fedra
Hmm.
or the dictatorship that now owns this vaccination, and then they can become eugenicists. They could say, oh, they get the vaccine, they don't.
Hmm.
Another bit of it, and this, who's to say it's going to save humanity? Like people don't want to even get the measles vaccine at this point.
Right.
They ain't
Hmm.
going to get this experimental vaccine that's been tested on no one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there's definitely a precedent in the game for that, because literally every single like authority body that rises up in this game, be it the wolves or they're like Fedra, obviously,
Mhm.
even the Seraphites, every
Sure.
single one of these gets corrupted. And it's not like
Mhm.
Jackson is perfect. Like, there's definitely infighting and stuff. There's stuff that you could say like, oh well, it's brewing, it's coming, like. So yeah, those are valid questions. And I feel like, yeah, I feel like you're onto something with that.
And my I Dr. Anderson, I know it sucks that Abby has to come in and her dad's sitting there dead. Like that's obvious, like horrifying and traumatic. But I do have to say that this doctor did not even get consent to operate on and operate where they know that the child's going to die. Marlene said she would have agreed to this. Would have. You didn't ask her. You just brought her in and you operated as a physician. You operated on a 14-year-old knowing they're going to die without getting any kind of consent. That definitely violates do no harm in the Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah.
And you could do for all the noble reasons. And I know they struggle with that when we, play those little tapes and everything. But that's cold-hearted.
Yeah.
Marlene's like, oh, she would have consented to this. Sorry, but bitch would have.
Yeah, that's interesting because we know, because we played with Joel, we've seen that she has expressed like that this needs to matter to her. She wants her life to matter. This is like this big thing. But yeah, that phrasing definitely implies that they did not.
Even if they did, that okay, so the doctor would have, okay, so let's say this. Ellie signs the paper, the statement of intent. I am agreeing that I am going to die during this operation. I know this is the end of the world as we know it, and 20 years past it.
Yeah.
But at least in our current context, that does not give a physician right to operate on that child who can't consent to that in our
right.
And this is still, I'm assuming, a physician trained. It's not like Dr. Anderson was born after outbreak day. He took that Hippocratic Oath. So you got consent from the 14-year-old that when you operate on her, she's going to die, and you're justifying that to save humanity for a vaccine that you cannot test in trials. You can't do any of that because this is the end of the world.
Yeah.
This
is like a Hail Mary. It's
ambiguity. It's bad. It's really, really bad. And so take out even Joel's fatherhood type situation, like all like that. To me, this is a almost like pre-fascistic type of pre-government type of agency that's going to bend the rules that much for a Hail Mary that they cannot prove would work.
Yeah.
I need to look up, can you vaccinate against fungal?
Yeah, that could be a potential plot hole. A pretty big one. If you zoom out though, I loved looking at stories where there are, two main characters. It's like a buddy love type of situation. I love looking at it like they're two parts of one psyche. And I feel like there's something to be said for the character of Joel and Ellie representing his innocence, his willingness to love, his willingness to be open to the world. Ellie, when they come across like Sam and Henry, Ellie is very quick to be open to them. So I feel like if we look at them as pieces of the same person, I feel like the whole premise, the thesis of part one is asking Joel, what it's going to take to survive in this world is for you to kill your openness to people, your willingness to love the world, all of these things that Ellie kind of embodies. Are you willing to sacrifice that in order to survive, in order to, to thrive in this new world? And in the end, he answers that question and says no, and damn the consequences, whatever happens. Like this is something that I'm choosing to hold on to. I think that looking at it in that kind of like philosophical zoomed out way is really beautiful as well, even though that is, like you said, that might be kind of like woo woo, but I love looking at it like that.
I think it's important to look at this philosophically, because I think that's what good storytelling does. Like we have to ask these questions. Otherwise it's still, I don't even know how it'd be an interesting story if we can't ask these questions.
Right. There wouldn't be the depth to it. And I think that later on, Abby gets asked the same question, with Lev, once Lev enters the picture.
Yeah, that's Doa Deer says, yes, you can vaccinate against fungal infection. Example, Candida. I just read that there's no approved vaccinations for any fungal.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting. So, Stephanie loves that observation.
Hi, Stephanie.
something that gets me is like going back to Ellie saying that she would agree to
Hmm.
that her life, the self-sacrifice thing, that she would have agreed to the Fireflies to operate, and she would have actually signed that paper,
Yeah.
whether ink or not, right? She would have agreed.
Hmm.
I wonder though, and I'm not saying that she should make the decision based on someone else's feelings, even if it's
Hmm.
Joel.
Yeah.
But for her to at least understand that what she would be asking Joel is to have yet another daughter die
Hmm.
in front
Yeah.
of like that's and I don't know. Again, I'm not saying that you make your decision based on other people. You have to make your decisions for yourself, I suppose. Um, but I wonder if that would change her decision, or would it change her decision like later in life too? Like once you're able to
Mm.
like the 14-year-old may not, the 18-year-old may or may not. I don't know. That's a I mean, obviously we'll never know.
Yeah.
But I wonder just like that's tough because yeah, you would be saying, "Oh, I'm willing to do this," and it's like, damn, okay, but you're also willing that this man is, I mean, he's done.
Yeah.
He would be done after that point, and he is anyway.
Hmm. Yeah.
'Cause- yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, and that's part of, I think, why the story is so painful is because it's hurtling towards a tragedy in some sense, and that's like the
Mhm,
very pessimistic kind of view of like, well, that's life after the infection.
mhm. Yeah, it really is. We're having a discussion here on the side from folks who are disagreeing or agreeing on whether there's an actual vaccine for fungus. I don't know if it's a plot hole or if it's just they're using the term colloquially, like it's a vaccine. But I mean, yeah, from what I understand, there are no FDA approved vaccines for anything fungal.
Okay.
Um, and maybe they've tried some. I don't know. One way or
Hmm.
the other, I think the bigger question is that, at least for the Fireflies, is like you cannot say that this is going to work in the way that we say it medically, like where
Yeah.
there's stage 1 trials and 2 trials and then broader trials, and we've tested this out, and this is where the science has led us.
Hmm.
You fundamentally cannot say that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Um, but again, there's so many complexities to the story. Like when we get to Lev and Abby, and
Hmm.
like there's I mean, there's so much there. There's like Lev is helping Abby in some way. Abby is helping Lev in some way. But on a deeper level, like just I mean the practical, like they're helping go from one place to the other and
Yeah.
manage that whole situation. But also like we're getting religious undertones.
Yes, which I
Um,
love, which is great.
Yeah, we're getting gender identity undertones.
Which is great.
And then you're getting like the political ones where there's been a war brewing and not even brewing, and now it's a full-fledged war.
Hmm.
All
Yeah.
while playing a character that you were set up to despise,
To hate. Yeah.
to hate.
Yeah. 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 And I like it's interesting because, like I mentioned, Ellie's story in part two ends when she has a chance at revenge. Abby's starts. Sorry, keep hitting my mic because I'm so excited.
Right, we got we
Um,
got a producer.
okay, cool. Yeah, so Abby
Me.
starts Abby starts after she's managed to achieve this revenge that she thinks is going to, like, I don't know, fix it all.
Yeah.
And so when you start playing as her, you realize what is going to happen to Ellie should Ellie achieve her revenge on Abby, is and
Right.
Abby's world is not better. If anything, her relationships have fallen apart. She, like, she's not in a better place off,
Mhm.
and even Mel at one point, they're talking about it, and Mel says, I know he deserved it. I just wish I didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Which I feel is kind of indicative of the whole crew, Manny and
Mhm.
Owen and everybody that was there that was kind of involved in it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's interesting that then you then watch Abby, who you hate, and you see her life, and it's kind of this like redemption story you're watching, and you're like, gosh, I'm watching Joel all over again. Like I'm
Mm.
watching someone who was very hardened and very jaded, and allowed that to inform the worst decision making.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching them kind of be resurrected due to this Lev.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember at the very beginning? I think it's day one of Abby.
Mm-hmm.
She gives Manny their room so that he can hang out with the meteorologist, and Abby is laying in the library with a book open on her chest. Do you know that book at all? This is a deep cut.
I don't remember the book. No.
Okay,
No.
it's this one. It's called City of Thieves.
Okay.
And this story is about two people, a young man and a teenage boy, who have to go on a trek together across occupied World War II era Leningrad to try to
Mm-hmm.
find a dozen eggs. And the young boy in this book's name is Lev.
Oh, for real?
And yeah, and this book is the closest you can get to like post-apocalyptic but actual like historical.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly, it's mostly based on a true story. Super short. I read it this weekend in preparation for this because I was looking for Easter eggs. But I feel like that even just setting it up, like that's the first thing, one of the first things you see of Abby
Mm-hmm.
is setting it up like she's about to go on this journey with this young boy who's gonna like essentially ransom her soul.
Mm-hmm. Damn. See, that's like some Kendrick Lamar deep. Like that's like level of writing that there's like layers beneath the layers that
Yes.
I would have never. I mean, if you're looking, I guess you could pick up on those things, but it's like I don't know. When you're playing the game, there's different ways to play games. Obviously, like when I play a game the first time through, I'm just trying to like take the overall story. Like I like to spend time and look around and loot and all that, but I'm sure I miss things. But you don't want to get too distracted from the story. That's
Oh, sure.
my one beef with a game like Red Dead Redemption, which I love also. That story is incredible.
Yeah.
But sometimes with open world games, like you could get so distracted with like other shit that you come back to the main storyline. You're like, oh, I forget what's actually happening here because I've been in the wilderness for 3 months.
Right. Yeah. You're like, wait, what am I
Yeah.
doing?
What am I doing? Who? Air Strauss? Who is this guy?
Yes.
But whereas this more linear type of game, and Last of Us 2 is a little more open world. There's
Mm-hmm.
at least that open world section, open-ish world.
Yeah.
But it definitely forces you to stay on that. And I like to stay on that path, but I miss things like that
Mm-hmm.
though, when there's that many Easter eggs.
Yeah. And I think that The Last of Us 2 especially does a good job of giving you the richness. Like you can pick up letters and you can get these
Mm-hmm.
tiny little like offshoot stories that give context to what you're doing. But if you miss them, like if you play them like my brother, who's like, I'm not gonna read a single thing, like
Yeah.
you're not gonna miss out on the main thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's see, that again is great storytelling too. Like
Mm-hmm.
where you have the story and the lore only helps like give the broader picture, but you don't need it for the story itself. Like you could
Right.
still pick up on all these things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me for those watching, if you're listening on the podcast, obviously this is the podcast the day after we live stream. You're not gonna be able to see it because you can't see the audio unless you have that ability. Some people do. Some people
Fancy.
they like see colors when they hear like
Yes.
what the
Mm-hmm.
fuck?
What is that
Oh,
called?
I don't
I can't
know.
remember it. Yeah. I think my brother has that actually.
Dang, that's wild. But I'm gonna do a cover reveal. And I guess it's a title reveal, obviously.
Mm.
So we'll add that to the stage. So there she is, Saints, Sinners, and Clickers. Love and Loss in The Last of Us, forward by Lauren Cibene.
Yay.
So there we go. And yeah.
I
Really,
love it. It's so pretty.
yeah, it's pretty. She's a beaut, Clark.
She is. I can't
So
wait
that
for this.
yeah, I like I used to think of my titles a lot differently. And then someone, I forget who, maybe it was Keith that told me, but Keith heard it from someone else. That you don't always like have to be very explicit in your titles or subtitles. Like you want it to be about what the book is about, but sometimes you do. Like if I just read Saints, Sinners, and Clickers, I wouldn't know what that book's about, right?
Right. Yeah.
But well, unless you know The Last of Us, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, this might be interesting. Or I did like in my subtitle for The Wisdom of Hobbits. The title makes it obvious what it might be about. It's like kind of like the Tao of Pooh. But then like I use like it's unearthing our humanity at 3 bag shot row. You might not know what 3 bag shot row is. That doesn't make sense to anyone who. But so I
your audience will know.
The audience will know, right? So you don't have to be like. Sometimes I used to go for like really long subtitles, and it's like no, shorten it and be a little more like I guess punchy and pithy or whatever.
Oh, Stephanie is coming to the rescue.
Oh yeah,
She says,
there it
yeah.
is. Synesthesia, is that what the term is? Where you see color when
Yes.
you have like, is that dang? So it's you like hear notes or melodies and you see those elicit colors. Is that right? I'm gonna have to
I
look
think
this
that's
up.
what I think it's what it's called. I think that's, yeah, my brother has that a lot. And I just read Hester, a book about a woman who's accused of being a witch because she has that.
Oh, man.
Which is pretty fun.
Yeah. So the stimulation in a sensory or cognitive pathway, e.g., hearing music, leads to involuntary and automatic experiences in another cognitive pathway, seeing colors. That's wild.
So cool.
Gorgeous cover, Sister. Thank you. Appreciate that. Oh yeah, Judy. Also, what you're seeing is called synesthesia. Yeah, that's okay. Humans are fascinating.
Cool. I know. I love this witchy world. It's great.
It is witchy. Well, back to the world of The Last of Us. Let's see. What else are we talking about?
I found something interesting when I was rewatching some cutscenes that I kind of want you to weigh in on.
Oh yeah, bring it.
So part 1, there's a moment where Ellie is talking to Sam, who I feel like is kind of a mirror image of her as well. He's at this point he's asking her, why aren't you scared? And he's very frustrated because he can't understand. He was very afraid of this big, like altercation that they had just had with runners. And Ellie kind of brushes him off at first, and she's like, well, scorpions scare me. But when she gets down to it and she gets real, she says, no, I'm afraid of being alone. Flash forward to the end of part 2. The last thing we really see of Ellie is her totally alone. Dina is gone. JJ's gone. Jesse, of course, is gone. Tommy is gone. Joel is gone. So yeah, I don't know. I found that was kind of powerful that in the part 1, she says that's what she fears most. And then that in the end is what she's left with.
Yeah, I think, well, there's probably a lot of layers to that. Like obviously vengeance gets us to that place. Trauma can drive people to that place. Like there's a lot of things that go on. Like Ellie has known nothing, which it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, I guess. Like it didn't have to be like that. Like she didn't have to go to Santa Barbara. Like
yeah.
But she also probably felt like she had no choice in the matter.
Yeah.
And we all have blind spots. And that's probably not even a blind spot. It's like, I mean, it's not a blind spot. It's like it's a blockade.
Yeah, blindness. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I get to a place where I'm heartbroken by Ellie's story. There's also that we love Ellie. Like like it, but it's a heartbreak. It's heart-wrenching. Why do we like this so much?
I know.
Like what she has, like everything from like where she kills David and Joel calls her baby girl, like that whole thing and all these things that she's gone with. She like down to the fact that she can't even play Joel's song because she lost her 2 fingers.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna be able to do that. Like everything, like she not only lost everything totally alone, not even the guitar. She can't even take the guitar with her.
Yeah.
And it's just like, do you hope for a part 3? I'm terrified of a part 3. I'm mortified of a part 3. I don't know what's going. This is the good thing about storytelling. Like I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. And I do secretly not secretly hope for a part 3, just because I know, like, I trust them now. Like part 2, even though they had this risk with killing Joel brutally and then forcing us to play as his murderer. But I at the end of the story, like, it was so that those risks were so rewarded. I trust those
Mhm.
storytellers now. And I'm
Yeah.
interested too, especially because in part 2, pregnancy and like the next generation is takes a like a front row seat. I mean, we have
Mhm.
Mel and Dina are both pregnant. So it's kind of like this generational thing. Like, we watch Joel with Ellie, and then Ellie
Mhm.
grows up, and now there's kind of like this like open-ended thing. And I do want them, like, I want them to dive into that. I want to see
Mhm.
Lev, I want to know what happens with that.
Yeah. I mean, I do want that. I'm just terrified that I'm not gonna be able to handle,
Sure.
if Ellie dies, like,
Oh,
I'm gonna be like that Cowboys fan that tears after they lose, like, the playoffs, that tears his TV off the wall. I'm gonna be like, God,
yes.
like,
Uh-huh. It
my
would
wife,
be so painful. Yeah.
like, like, it would ruin me. Be like, "What happened?" "Oh, a video game character died." Like, you won't be
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
like, but I would be, like, wrecked for a whole fucking, like, month,
Mhm.
just, like, wrecked.
Mhm.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's what would happen. We have no idea what would happen, like, but it's in the Last of Us universe, like, it is so real. It's so real in, it's post-apocalyptic and there's monsters and stuff, but it's so real in that is sometimes, like, sometimes your favorite people just die.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, the universe comes first. We're just living in that world. Like,
Mhm.
that's the world, and sometimes the universe doesn't give a fuck about Joel.
Right. Mhm.
That's just
Or
what happened,
Ellie.
or
Yeah.
Ellie, or any of them.
Mhm.
And that's what's so brutal about, like, this story, is that the story fits within the universe. The universe isn't built necessarily around the story. Like,
Yeah.
this is them's the breaks. Like, the outbreak
Mhm.
happened, like, people are vengeful, and 4 years later, it's gonna come back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's something we wrestle with in our lives too.
Mm,
Like we feel like we're the main character living in this story.
mhm.
And so every time we have that one of those moments where we're like, "Oh, wow, I am really inconsequential." Like, it knocks us on our ass every time. And it's hard
Yeah.
to then like have this pastime that's kind of escapism. It's kind of like, yeah, we're pretending we're getting to be the badass that can like aim and shoot and run and climb. The
Mhm.
thing, gosh, I think the most unrealistic thing in all of the Last of Us games are the way they can pull each other up
Oh,
on, you know what I mean, over walls and stuff.
yeah, it's wild. Like, my daughter and I were talking. My daughter's a dancer, and she's gonna be 15 this year. And we were talking about, all that kind of stuff. And I was talking about, like, in the ballet world, especially, like, you have to be really petite and all this thing. And I was like, yeah, that is toxic in one way, and in another way, it's like, at least you're like 14 years old, and people are heavy. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter if you're the most, like, tiny, tiny person. Like, people are fucking. I can't lift, other than because I'm 40 and I pitched my whole life. I got a bad elbow, but even if I didn't, like, just lifting things over your head and that one arm lifting up.
Yeah,
But at the same time, like, you gotta suspend some of the realism,
totally.
to make it fun.
Yeah,
Otherwise it'd be like playing this game. Like, imagine playing it, like, on, like, permadeath. Like, it wouldn't even
right.
be fun. Like, I
No,
don't know how people like that. They I
I don't
and make
either.
it really realistic. Like, play it on permadeath and on, like, the hardest level, which is, what is it called? Grounded or something. Like, I will never play games on that. Like,
Mhm.
it's not even fun.
No, we want to have a little bit of escapism and a little bit of
A
like,
little, yeah.
yeah, like that's part of why
Yeah.
it's fun because I can pretend that I can run for a very long time while shooting.
Right.
But then, yeah, but then that's like the magic of these games is that in the middle of that like escapism and this fantastical setting, we realize, oh, or I guess we remember, oh, like this really, we're not the main characters, and neither's Ellie, neither's Joel. Like this is
No.
brutal. This is hard.
Yeah, and they do it really well. and again, we have to suspend some belief here, but they do it really well with even like the NPCs have names like that. And in Last of Us 2, that blew me away. Like where they're like yelling, like when you blow someone up, and then the other people are like, Tom, what
I
happened to Tom?
know.
Like, it's like,
Yeah.
did he just or she just yell out a name? Like, so then you have to, but then at the same time, like they have to make you a badass to do that in order for the story to progress. So I'm always torn, like, Ellie's a killer. Yeah, but I can't say like all those people that she killed that, okay, in a realistic world, she wouldn't have to go in like Rambo style or would be able
Right.
to go in Rambo style and just
Hmm.
blow up like 500 fireflies or wolf members, not fireflies,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
but at the same time, the game does make it like tough because it's like, or the dogs,
Yeah.
you've got the dogs with you, and you're like, what happens to that dog? And you're like, shit, don't think about it.
I know. And that's the thing, because you've played it as Ellie. So you know when you meet the dog and the
I
dog has a
I know.
name.
That's why you don't think of it like, ah, god damn it.
Yeah, like I'm gonna push that to the back of my mind.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know
yeah.
why. And that also is an Easter egg from this book is
Oh, is
the
it?
dog, yeah, aspect. It's such a little tiny thing, but it hits us. The dog always, man.
All the dogs, like you have to go in. Like it's one thing. It's weird because I remember like my brother, my younger brother, would always cry like during dog scenes in movies, and if the dog dies or whatever, people could be just blown away. Just
Yes,
it
but the
doesn't just
dog
start
better
there, but
live.
the dog gets hit. Like, oh my god, it goes bit, and they whimper in Last of Us 2. Like you gotta fuck, and sometimes they're like face to face, and you fucking just.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then they got whole YouTube videos. Can you play Last of Us 2 without killing any of the dogs?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious and
Let alone the fucking
understandable.
humans. Yeah,
Yeah.
what is that? What do you think that is about us? Like, we will be violent with each other and kill each other. Not that that doesn't traumatize us, but there's something
Mhm.
about it when it happens to the animal.
I don't know. For me, I feel like that's an agency thing, and maybe that's a toxic
Mm,
trait for me to look at every animal and be like, if they knew my vibe, they would be fine with me.
that'd be chill.
They wouldn't kill me.
Yeah.
They just need to get to know me. So like when there is an aggressive like dog coming at Ellie, if you're playing as Ellie, it's like this dog doesn't have agency. It doesn't know what it's doing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Whereas a human, it's like, no, they know. They know they're shooting at me.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Just mow through those dogs. They're the hardest part of, I think, last like that. I'm always worried about the dog, especially in those like suburb scenes. Those are tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, and I like that heard people say that there's this juxtaposition of like as Ellie is getting further and further consumed with her like her need for vengeance,
Mm-hmm.
that she's delving deeper into the city, and the city's getting more convoluted and the city's getting more overgrown, and
Mm-hmm.
I like that visual symmetry because as Ellie's like losing herself, as the
Yeah.
story goes on.
Yeah. I would have to pay. Yeah, I guess yeah. It does get more. Yeah, you think that was intentional?
I think that it was. I think that,
Yeah.
like, because when you play as Ellie and Dean and they finally get to Seattle, there's all these physical checkpoints that they go
Mm-hmm.
through, these gates that you have to figure out how to
Yeah.
to power up. But then also emotionally and like relationally, Dina and Ellie are going through these checkpoints, which of course culminate with Dina saying, "I'm pregnant,"
Mm-hmm.
and Ellie has to face that final decision, like, okay, who are you going to be? Are you going to be consumed with the revenge and the like the hatred on behalf of the last generation, the one that precedes you, or are you going to say, okay, I'm turning over a new leaf. This is something new. This is a new generation that I'm now the Joel. I'm now the one that's the mentor,
Mm-hmm.
and it's heartbreaking that she just chooses to continue looking back.
Hmm. Yeah. It's a heartbreaking game.
It is. It is. And I think that circling back, I can't we was such a roundabout way, but you were talking about Joel when he gets to the hospital and how he really doesn't have a choice.
Mm.
And he like it's very obvious that he's going to go save her, and
Mm-hmm.
he's fully committed to that. I think it's interesting that because I feel the same way, and I am glad that it happened that way. I just think that it's interesting that when we get to the end of part 2, uh Abby has Lev, and Abby, rather than it feeling like this is a no-brainer, Abby is absolutely going to wreck Ellie right now on behalf of Lev.
Mm-hmm.
Like Abby almost has to be forced into that final fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if it would have came down to actually saving Lev, though, it wouldn't be a choice, right?
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
yeah. Um, no,
There's
it's
just more reticence, like
yeah,
I don't know that I didn't feel really with Joel. Did you?
reticence.
Yeah, like he was just like I didn't ever feel like he was
No,
reluctant to do what he needed to do to save Ellie.
no, I'm just, I have the obvious perspective of being a father, so it's the father figure type that I'm just like, well, he, and perhaps it's selfishness too. Like,
Mm,
it's I can't handle going through what I went through with Sarah again. I
right.
he and it's like both things are true at the same time. Um like there's just you love the person. He loves Ellie. He cares about her well-being. I think it's also like I would rather die 1,000 deaths than live having this person died again. Like I can't go
Mm,
through that. He'll if he doesn't succeed, he will kill himself.
yeah.
1,000%. I
Yeah.
believe that.
Mhm.
So um I don't know. That would be a different context than Abby's.
Sure. Yeah. She
Not
doesn't
to
have
diminish
the
not to
yeah.
diminish her love for Lev, but like it's so much obviously Ellie's a surrogate for Sarah and
Mhm.
Lev and Abby's dad, there's such different
Sure.
like there's not that same kind of I guess,
Mhm.
allegory, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But that's
Mm,
yeah. And I think good storytelling there shouldn't always be that. Like
right.
Abby, like even though like there's going to be similarities between her story and Joel's story, but the contexts are going to be different. And
Definitely.
I like that the storytelling does that for us. So I think that as viewers and as participants, like all of our experiences, we can see ourselves in different aspects of different
Mhm.
characters, you know?
Yeah, I love that too. It's like the same question, but in different scenarios, like
Yeah.
between Henry and Sam. This is the same thing. Like it's
Brotherly. Yeah.
yeah, it's that brotherly, what would happen like if the little one is infected and we get to live out that horror, and then like of course we see it with Ellie and Joel and then again with Abby and Lev. So yeah, I like that too. It's
That's
yeah,
one of my
it gives
least favorite scenes. Like that's like
Henry and Sam.
it was just I maybe it's just like the timing, like the tunnels were hard to play, and then the
Yeah.
sniping was tough. It was like intense. Like you finally get to the tower, you got this anytime it's sniping, and you got to everything built up to that, and then there was like this little bit of respite, and then it just hit like you're like, oh, normally like I mean, I guess in a lot of games, like you kind of let down for a second,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then the next cutscene is
It's just
you feel like
horrible.
you're on to the next like segment of the game. Like we're ready to move on in the next segment of the game, and it's like, well, hold on a second, we got one more thing. He's
Yes.
got to kill his brother and then kill himself.
Yeah, it's this one more horrible thing. I think that like, yeah, I hate it too. But I think it's that moment is so important for Ellie for her building up this desire to like go through with the surgery. Like cuz I
Mhm.
have no doubt in the moment
Oh
when
yeah,
she's thinking about what could this cost me, which I don't even know if she even fully understood it. She's a baby,
no,
but
hmm
I think that when she's thinking about like what could my life mean, she's absolutely thinking about Sam and saving kids like him.
yeah, has to be. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, I mean, he wasn't he was infected literally, but he wasn't infected. He wasn't the infected.
Right.
Capital T, capital I.
Mhm.
Like he was killed like he was on top of her and killed. Like he was
Mhm.
killed
Yeah.
right there with like yeah, of course she was thinking of that.
Yeah.
Like and then and but not killed by like not killed it's such a it's not like killed by a madman, killed by a murderer.
Mhm.
It transcends being able to like really touch on like what that would do and what that is. Like
Mhm. Yeah.
it's why
Yeah, and
that's why yeah.
even Joel too, like that's foreshadowing for him. Like he's watching Henry get asked the same question that he will soon be asked. You know, the game is asking Henry, "Hey, you're the kid that you love most in the world. Would you kill him? If you had to kill him in order to save an innocent, would you?" And Henry answers yes, and that destroys him. And so when Joel's asked the same question, of course Joel says no, you know, like, and he answers differently. He saves Ellie, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
The story,
Just
man.
let's go play some video games and have some fun.
Yeah. It used to be like, oh, I eat a mushroom, I grow big, I get coins. Now
Yeah.
it's like, I am a ruined man.
Like the worst, yeah. Like the worst letdown is like the princess is in another castle.
Oh no. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how far I'll get into it in the book about I'll have to about like the story. Actually the first thing I wrote about The Last of Us was an essay where I compared Frodo and Ellie and how they are
Oh.
like the surrogate sacrifice for the good of the whole, which is very, I don't know if you've ever read Rene Girard and anything about mimetic theory and the scapegoating mechanism and how we always throughout tell our stories a certain way. And it's basically like, you know, it's a mythology. The Last of Us is a mythology in the same way that many of our stories are. Like, we need to sacrifice the one, you know, in our most archaic forms, a virgin in a volcano.
Right.
Frodo is the sacrifice, well, for the Shire at first, and then all of Middle Earth, and has to go away. Ellie it's a failed sacrifice though, because she's supposed to go away for the good of the whole. And then Joel Joel almost becomes, and I don't mean this pejoratively, he almost becomes Satan in the opposite.
Right.
Because God in the traditional religious, you know, stories would send the sacrifice. You know, Jesus' story, God sends the sacrifice for the good. But Joel's like, nope,
Yeah.
not gonna happen under my watch. So he
Right.
becomes the opposite of that archaic religious form.
Mhm.
I would actually call it in that way. It would be almost divine in the Girardian sense, where no, humanity in your perversion are the ones that send children to be sacrificed on the altar of the good of us all.
Right. Mhm.
And Joel becomes, but this is, to me, this is not I mean, it's not so cut and dried, because Joel is not a he's not a good man.
Right. Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
you know, to quote Tess, shitty people.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a survivor for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Survivor at what cost? That's a good question.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
There is another. I have another Easter egg for you, a short one if
oh,
you want.
please.
Okay, so in part two, there's a scene that kind of all of Ellie's and Joel's relational dynamic kind of revolves around this scene, and it's when she meets or when she kind of gets with Dina. So it's like an important scene in their relationship. But as the game goes on, we get more and more glimpses of like what actually happened during this dance scene.
Hmm.
And in that dance scene, when we finally get like our first, like a good look at what happens when Joel stands up for Ellie and all of that, there is a song playing, and it's called Little Sadie. And it's originally about a man who hunts down a woman and kills her in cold blood. But the band that's performing it in the scene is Crooked Still, and it's a female singer. And so they change the pronouns in the song, and it makes it to be about a woman who hunts down a woman and kills her in cold blood.
Oh shit.
Take that, you know, whatever. Take away from that whatever you want. But I always think that that's interesting that I don't
No,
think that was an accident.
it can't be an accident. No, no, no. People like this, people who are next level writers, like storytellers, like there's I'm a huge Kendrick fan, if it's not obvious.
Me too.
In his video for Squabble Up in Latin, it says it says it in Latin, but it says everything means something.
Mm,
So everything placed, it's not just they're going to accidentally have this song playing by this band and
right.
accidentally have the pronouns changed because it's a woman singing. That's all got to mean something. And just like the book, it's not an accident. Oh, we'll just pick a book and that's the first book they picked. And okay, that book's fine. Um, that's we wouldn't, if we're telling a story, if we're not that master level storyteller, we will just pick random things probably. And
Right.
and literally some things are just coincidences. I think we over intentionalize some things that people
Mhm.
do, but most of those things have to be there for a reason.
Yeah.
They got Easter eggs for everything. Like if you go look, even down to the things like where they're playing a PS2 and they're playing Crash Bandicoot, which Naughty Dog
Yes.
made, and things like that. Or one of the bars I think is from. I never played Uncharted. I've seen some of the. It looks fun.
It's
Um,
fun.
it looks fun, but it like the story doesn't seem like it's
It's
something I'd
not
be
Last of
great.
Us. No,
Right.
it's not Last of Us.
I can't play Uncharted after The Last of Us and be like
Yeah.
expecting. But I like that I think there's a bar or one of the bars or lounges is like straight out of Uncharted. Like it's the floor
Oh,
plan's
okay.
exactly the same. And obviously it's a little overgrown at this point, but
That's cool. I like that.
yeah. Oh, I love that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Um, Crooked Still. Yeah. Is that's the name of the band? Crooked
Yes, that's
Still.
the name of the band. Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a fun vibe.
Um,
It's a good jam.
Great soundtrack, by the way, too, for The Last
Oh.
of Us. I like Ashley Johnson's cover of Take on Me is brilliant. I love that.
Mhm.
It's one of my
Yes.
favorite things ever. Um, I was a music minor in college, so
Oh, no way.
yeah. So I very much like appreciate soundtracks and getting into like I love music in movies or shows or games where I like thematic music, like where you hear
Mhm.
the theme, and it means certain things, and even like I don't know if you've ever like gone deep dive on like the themes in Lord of the Rings. Howard Shore. It
Uh,
is like
no, I don't think so.
really like how he'll like as the fellowship leaves the Shire, like he'll start stripping away the melody and he'll change keys until it comes around full circle and it
Ah,
ends in the same key it started in, but it's changed and it's like
I love that.
it's again like face meltingly genius. Like it
Yeah.
makes me jealous. Like I literally can't do that. Like there's no way.
Yeah, and I love that there are people out there that have, like, that thought and intentionality that they put in these
Hmm.
things. Oh, chef's
Yeah.
kiss.
Right. Yeah. And also again, heartbreaking. Like to where why do we care? It's because even if we don't notice it, even if we don't like pick up on it, it's still getting you on a subconscious level. Like
Right.
it's our
Mhm.
bodies noticing it. Like somewhere deep we're noticing it, and it's taking you on a story, not only visually or cognitively or spiritually, but like auditorily, like things that we don't even think about. Like I mean, if
Mhm.
video games could figure out smells and things like that and really immerse us, like
Ooh, man, I'd never leave my couch.
yeah, we're all just gonna it's gonna be the Matrix. We're all just gonna be plugged in somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, or, like, Ready Player One, that vibe.
Oh yeah, yeah,
The book's
yeah.
better than the movie.
I think I mean, I know I think I saw the movie. Which one was that?
The movie's fine. It's whatever, but the book's great.
Oh, okay. And maybe I think I'm mixing up that one and what's the movie Blue Shirt Guy? It's not the name of the movie.
Blue
It's where
Shirt Guy.
he's an NPC and they call him Blue Shirt Guy. It's
Oh,
Ryan Reynolds, maybe.
I don't know that one.
Oh yeah, so he's like he realizes he's an NPC and then wakes up from his NPC status. It's like silly and cheesy and funny, but also like, oh, that's actually a really good story and really clever.
Okay, I'll look it
I'd
up.
have to look it up. It's not called Blue Shirt Guy, I assure you. Yeah,
Nice.
well, Lauren, thank you so much. I'm going off to the farm now. What do you got
Fun.
planned the rest of the day?
I am gonna hit up a coffee shop, I think. Just kinda hang out, do some work for the rest of the day.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
I wrote the first couple pages of chapter 2. So I'm onward and
Oh,
upward. Just talking
good.
about suffering and the nature of suffering.
Oh, what a great
Light
time.
reading.
I
Light
love
reading.
it. Yeah, I can't wait to read it. Thank you so much for looping me in on this. I will talk about this with you whenever you want, literally.
All right. Well, thank you everyone who's watching. put the website on there. Check out Lawrence Cibene at lawrencecibene.com. And shout out to you for agreeing to do the forward for this.
Yeah, thank you for asking me. So
Yeah.
honored.
And thanks for everyone listening on the deep dive of Last of Us. We'll see you. I don't know. What do we have? I think we have on this Tuesday, we have Trans-Biblical. We're talking to some of the contributors of that book that came out, including Katie, who was one of our co-hosts for many years. And then we will have Friday's bonus show. Judy, saying bye there. Stephanie, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
Dear, everyone else, we'll see you on the flip side. And make sure you tell one friend about this show. Let me see if I can find the music on the way out. There we go. Ciao.